It'll pop in the tops pregame. No quicker way to let your opponent know you're thinking about the cold. Early on, mid-first quarter, Kadarius Toney jet sweep pass from Patrick Mahomes. Made it 7-0. Young Joka in for the second time as a Chief. Early second quarter now, Mahomes to the touchdown machine. Jerick the Jet McKinnon in for his 5th receiving touchdown of the month. Chiefs up 14-0. As for the Seahawks offense in the first half, seemed to be frozen. Geno, let it go. 3 points, 98 total yards. Smith 10 of 18 for 81 yards, but trying to thaw things out in the second half, trying to mount a comeback, and that comeback would have to wait because mid-fourth quarter, Seahawks trailing 17-3 on the KC 22, heading in, got to come away with points in the red area, but Geno Smith to only red jerseys. Juwan Thornhill with the pick, Chiefs take over. Ensuing drive, what do you do off the turnover? Mahomes layers one in there to Travis Kelce, and Kelce with some green grass going to chew it all up and get down to the 8 for a gain of 52. The big fella, patient, strong. Kelce, 6 receptions, a buck 13. 3 plays later, 15. Do it yourself. MVP chance raining down at Arrowhead as he just gets the pylon. Chiefs, 12-plus wins in 5 straight seasons. That's all since Mahomes became the starter. They had 5 such seasons in their first 58 years as a franchise. A game changer in every single way. Mahomes, 16-28 for 224, 2 touchdowns, another one on the ground as you get a 24-10 final. Chiefs winners in 3 straight and 8 of their last 9. Mahomes now 9-1 in freezing temperatures because cold never bothered him anyway. Let's get into it with Emery Hunt and Will Brinson here to take a look at a Kansas City Chiefs team that perhaps is peaking at the right moment. Defense continues to be the question mark here, but they stand up and show out. Emery Hunt, you take a look at this 60 minutes of football for the Chiefs, and it obviously feels like they're heading in the right direction. You have any major takeaways from this one?
I was impressed with their defense, Joe, and how well they covered on the back end. This is not an easy offensive attack to play coverage against, and you saw this secondary start to find its rhythm, start to find its way. Every pass you showed in this highlight clip, and even throughout the game, blanketed wide receivers. And up front, I thought the Seahawks had a problem all game long protecting Geno Smith. He was under duress. They couldn't get these guys blown off the ball to get the run game going. So if you're a Chiefs fan, if you're watching this game, you're impressed with how it happens every year. Steve Spagnuolo's defense seems to get better as the year goes on. This was a great display of defensive output.
I think, too, you can probably look at this game and think, man, did Mahomes lock up the MVP? You mentioned the chance that they were littering the field with there in Kansas City, Musso. And I tell you what, man, that rushing touchdown by Mahomes, I mean, I know we briefly saw the highlight. Watching that, like, live and seeing, like, it's insane how it reminded me of a play from Michael, or like midway through, like, Michael Vick's career with the Falcons, when he sort of, like, floats. Like he's like floating across there horizontally and has the wherewithal to get the ball out, and just get the tip on the pylon as he's going out of bounds, using the full world width. The pylon, the plane extends across the entire universe, and you see it right there. Like, just insane athleticism. The guy is crazy athletic, and Joe Burrow and Cincinnati took care of business in New England, but Burrow kind of struggled down the stretch there a little bit, and then Josh Allen really didn't look fantastic against the Bears in a game that we thought they might blow them out in as heavy favorites. So I think for Mahomes, he already had a pretty good lead in the MVP race, and I think he only extended it a little bit with this performance on Saturday afternoon.
Emery, hard to argue with the data points we were offered here. We talk about Heisman moments, maybe an MVP moment with Patrick Mahomes bracing himself off the ground and efforting that goal line. Do you see the MVP race the same way?
I do not. I see it as Jalen Hurts' trophy to lose, and we'll see how significant he's going to be when Gardner Minshew gets out there against a defense that takes no prisoner. And we know Gardner Minshew loves to give up sacks and also loves to give the ball away to the other team. So I think him not playing could make his case even stronger than it already is. But to you guys' point, it's hard to ignore with Heisman moments because it's human nature. We tend to remember what we saw last, and that was just a fantastic display. I know what Will's talking about, the Vic run versus the Panthers. We kind of floated across the end zone. Knee didn't touch the ground, broke the plane, touchdown.
I'll never forget where I was in that Vic play.
No, you're good, Will Brinson. As the conversation continues here, taking a look at some of those numbers out of this ball game. Patrick Mahomes, 2 with the arm, 1 with the legs, always going to do you good. 26 fantasy points. As we take a look at some other numbers coming in, it's the Cincinnati Bengals surviving the New England Patriots 22-18. Cincinnati out in front in a big way early in this one, but New England, after being shocked in the way that last week's game came to a close, finally comes to life in the second half and makes this one a ball game. But in the end, Cincinnati getting their 11th win of the season. All right, let's head up to the booth where our Charles Davis is standing by to break this one down. Charles, big moment early in this game I want to talk about is Lyle Collins gets carted to the locker room, and we know that Joe Burrow is only as good as the guys in front of him can allow him to be. They do allow 4 sacks beyond the omission of Collins. What'd you make of that group up front and their ability to try and protect Burrow in this moment to get this W?
Yeah, obviously you want Lyle Collins playing. That's why you went out and got him from the Dallas Cowboys and made him your starting right tackle. He didn't have much of a training camp. We have to remember that. He had a back injury, did only practice a few times before he played in the opener. And you guys remember the opener against Pittsburgh, and it was Blitzburg all over again. And early in the season, Joe Burrow was getting hit a lot, harassed a lot, hurried a lot. Down the stretch now, over these last 7 games, they're giving up less than 2 sacks per ball game until today. Collins is very valuable for them. Hakeem Adeniji, he came in and acquitted himself nicely, but he's normally their 6th offensive lineman, and they use that a lot in terms of run game, early down situations. He had to play full time. Max Sharping came in as the 6th offensive lineman. He gave him 2 penalties. So it changes everything. You start to lose from your starter to your backup to your 6th guy. It's a big deal. They obviously they're hopeful that this will not be a long-term thing before the playoffs.
Protecting Joe Burrow was a big part of that run a year ago, as was Evan McPherson and his effectiveness and belief in that leg. Misses a PAT, misses a field goal in this game, CD. As you sort of take this one in and you keep your eyes on him longer than we can, what are you seeing out of McPherson right now? Because he is going to be called upon in a big moment down the stretch here for a team that has high sights.
Yeah, and I think today he got caught in the maelstrom, which was a certain end zone here in New England, because it got Nick Folk a couple of times as well. So part of that is where the winds are, how things are going, etc. But he has missed some extra points along the way. Coming into today, he had missed 4 extra points on the season. But always remember this. In his short career, he is 14 for 16 from 50 yards plus. I don't think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to give up on Money Mac just yet. I think they think that he'll be able to pull it back for them when they need him.
All right, it's that time of the season where we look at real contenders and maybe we get a little bit critical of them, see what they're lacking. We've checked those boxes. Let's go positive here on the Bengals. What did they show you here? Week 16 is sort of that home stretch indicator of we're going to be something or we're going to step back. And one of these 2 teams was going to do one of each of those things. What did the Bengals tell you today in their effort here towards the playoffs?
Well, they told me that we understand who the Bengals are and how good they are on offense and how confident they are, and they came right out and showed that. We understand that they're a defense that their numbers are not going to suggest how good they truly are. All right, their numbers are going to be middle of the pack, but they are so cohesive. They play with what they call unconscious competence, where they all understand where each other's going to be. They fill all the right spots at the right times. Remember, this is a Bengals defense that while they may not be at the top of the food chain, they held Derrick Henry to 38 yards rushing, Nick Chubb to 34 yards rushing. DJ Reader keys everything inside. But they also showed us they are a team that is gritty. Last week, down 17 to Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, win going away in the second half. This one, they played from the front and almost gave the whole thing up, but found a way to make the big play down the stretch, forcing the ball free from Ramondre Stevenson, and they make the big play. The one question I have, and you guys can kick this around if you want to, when are we going to see an NFL team close someone out that they have in a Cobra clutch? We've seen this too much this season as far as I'm concerned. These teams are choked out, yet somehow they let them off the mat. Minnesota did it with Indianapolis last week. We saw Kansas City let Denver come back 2 weeks ago. We saw it this week with Cincinnati. You're better, you're more talented, you're controlling the game, yet somehow you're in a ball game in a dogfight. I know it's the NFL, but I'm waiting to see that team that just says, guess what? We've got it. We're finishing you off.
We would love to see Cincinnati or some of these other favorites finish in that ilk. It's a real feel of 1 degree, all the elements of championship football. And speaking of those elements, Charles Davis, go get warm. We appreciate you. Happy holidays, my friend.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to all.